Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Welcome back to our news episode, yet again talking about Vaevictis. If you guys do not know, I will link a video down below for all of you, which we talked about our first time when we talked about Vaevictis, an all-female lineup now playing in the LCL. The full story details will be linked down below as we talked about those. A follow-up story first off, then we'll get, of course, into the meat of today's video, that being Vaevictis breaking a record you probably do not want to break. But on top of that, first of all, in week number 1 of the LCL, it was 2 of the teams they did play. As per usual in LCL, they play 3 teams per week. Ironically enough, 2 of those teams being ROX and Vegas Squadron. Well, they did some things that were against, or almost against some rules out there, and were both issued warnings for the way they played against Vaevictis. Now, it was though ROX that a lot of people got upset about, because ROX, they picked 5 support bans. Vaevictis has 5 players, notably in the mid to low diamond range, and they're all known to be support mains. So people thought that ROX banned those support players because there's a notable, not necessarily a meme, but a trend out there that female players like to play support players, and they knew these female players for Vaevictis actually main supports, so they thought their bans actually made a lot of sense out there. It is now finally clarification as to why the warning was actually issued. It was a regulation that was apparently broken by ROX and their voice comms. Their own general manager has now come forward to clarify what ROX did wrong. It was not their actual bans, but what they said over their voice comms that potentially did break regulation 10.2.4, which does clarify and does not allow discrimination towards an opponent's race, skin color, ethnic, national, or social origin, gender, language, religion, or political opinion. So this does make a lot of sense. You know, Vegas Squadron, their warning was well issued because those guys ran up the score to beyond belief. They surpassed 50 kills in that single match, and it was pretty obvious there was no competitive integrity whatsoever. But the warning issued to ROX was a lot more questionable because it seemed they banned, you know, support players that would probably give them an advantage, which made a lot of sense. You really can't pick and choose what a team bans. This makes a lot more sense. Apparently ROX and their voice comms is what broke, or actually almost, you know, nearing that rule, where that's why the issue, the warning came across. So on top of that, of course, why you guys are actually here, a record that of course Vaevictis probably does not want to be a part of, as they have now broken the record in their latest matchup, ironically enough also against Vegas Squadron, right? The team they played in week 1 who surpassed 50 kills. I think the final kill count was 52-2 in that game. They a lack of competitive integrity for sure in that matchup. Ironically enough, once again now in week 3, their matchup against Vegas Squadron one-upping themselves in week 1, as in week 3 they now broke the record for the fastest League of Legends game in LCL and CIS history, coming in at just over 13 minutes. I think 13 minutes and 4 seconds was the final time, according to, there's several sources out there, right, that have actually touched on the fastest game in League of Legends history. According to the source I will link down below for all of you, the 8th fastest professional League of Legends game all time, of course the fastest in LCL and CIS history, number 1 there, and it depends on the overall ranking in terms of fastest games of all time. If you want to count number 2 right now, Mouse Sports, they were playing a game EUCS Spring, I believe 2015. They were actually forced to forfeit that game because of a multiple disconnect issue. There was a pretty poor lacking of rules over there in 2015, so that's why there was a forced forfeit, and that's why that time was so fast. Then you look at other teams on the list that actually made it twice. At one event in Singapore, a team known as Armageddon, they were actually one of the worst teams we have seen in professional play so far, topping off twice inside the top 10, losing both their games in sub 13 minutes. So those could be anomalies. If so, this Vaevictis game is actually top 5 of all time. As of right now, official rankings, their 13-minute, 4-second defeat in the LCL is the fastest the LCL has ever seen, the fastest CIS has ever seen, and still a top 10 fastest league game in League of Legends history. Now, there's a lot of debate out there. I'm not trying to make this video to try and discuss the difference between female players and male players, but it's definitely an opening point to talk about. You guys can leave your comment down below on if this should truly be allowed. Now, stated by League of Legends rules out there, Riot rules out there, these females are allowed to play for this team. If you guys do not know the background of the story, it was pretty much Vaevictis had an all-male roster. Before the split did start, they tried to sell their spot in the split. They failed to do so. They decided to field an all-female roster. People out there seeming to think it's actually a publicity stunt. You know, you field an all-female roster, much like other rosters we have seen in League of Legends history, to try and get some more traction, get some more promotion and more attention. And in doing so, they have, well, unfortunately fallen to all the teams they played against so far, currently going 0-9, and it's a very debatable topic if pro players at this level, these female players, should be allowed to compete against male players of a much higher caliber. That is a question I hold for all of you guys. As always, my name is Jake. I hope you guys all enjoy. I will see you back here next week with more League of Legends news, and until next time, take care.